Hey YouTube, it's Sonia from Profiling Manipulation, back with another video. So in this one we're going to take a look at Bryan Kohberger. Well, it's believed this could be him. You can zoom in on the picture to the left as much as you possibly can, because obviously it's not the whole face of the person, and it does kind of look like Bryan when he would be younger, because the date on some of these posts is back to 2011. You kind of can see his nose and that long face shape. It does look like him. Obviously it may not be, it could still be somebody else. The account was found, I believe, by Hidden True Crime, the channel's called, and I think they'd got an email address that was known to be his, and did a search on it and came up with this. The email was attached to this account. Now, I know that's really easy to do over there in America. If you've got somebody's email, you can pretty much search up a lot of what they do online. It's quite scary, but yeah, so I kind of do lean to this being him. I'm usually quite skeptical. I don't just believe the first thing that's put in front of me. But going through some of these posts, even if it's not him, the personality type it suggests to me that it is would fit for somebody of who we think Bryan is, right? The things that we've heard people say about him, the accounts from friends or old friends or people that just knew him in passing. Students, I think a couple of them have spoke. There's been ex-dates, people that he's took on dates, they've spoke up. And back to this though, so he's called XR, those with visual snow. So he complains about this issue he has visually in seeing these white dots like snow, right? And at first I just felt like, reading it, that he likely had experienced this maybe one time or mildly, and the rest of all the rest of what he describes is an exaggeration. That was my first reaction reading some of these posts, right? From his own words, and I've not just pulled it out of nowhere, and I'll show you how I've come up with those kind of conclusions. So it starts off like, I don't think many people notice the beginning, right? Because I haven't heard this spoken about yet. So it starts off at the beginning of this thread that someone's questioning him, and they've wrote, that's the thing, a lot of us are vulnerable to snake oil salesmen because we still know next to nothing about VS, which is visual snow. It would be pretty easy for someone to take advantage of vulnerable people on this forum, right? And it just gave me chills. I think that's exactly what he was doing. And this is going to sound crazy, right? But narcissistic personalities, which includes those with antisocial personality disorder, like a lot of cluster B personalities or Machiavellian types, dark triad types, they lie. They're pathological liars. They can't help it, right? Even if you asked a narcissist what they had for breakfast or what time they got up, they would lie. If the truth will help them and the truth will prevent something negative happening to them, they still can't tell the truth. And a brilliant example of that was Darrell Brooks in court. He portrayed what people every day go through living with a narcissist, either as a partner or having one in your family. His narcissism was overt, it was on the outside, but his behaviours were the same as with what you live with. How much extra work did he create for the court, right? People say, oh, he didn't win, the judge controlled him. The judge did a wonderful job. The judge was fantastic in how she managed him. But how much extra work did he have to be like, he instigated a lot more work, had to go in his court sessions because of his behaviour. For example, they had to put him in another room, right? Then they had to control the microphone. Then he was holding things up to hide his face and being stupid that way, wouldn't look, kept putting his hand up, kept trying to interrupt. He was doing, even when he was pretty much silenced verbally, he still kept on and on and on, pushing and pushing and pushing and wanting to have his own way. He couldn't accept no, he couldn't accept the boundary. He was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. And that's just exactly, perfectly what they're like to live with. So this telling the truth, Daryl couldn't tell the truth. He couldn't even behave, even if it would have served him better to do so, okay? He still couldn't conform and get control of his narcissism and wind it down, right? And the lying side of it, like when I said, even if you ask them what they had for breakfast, they will still lie and make it either grandiose or a sob story. Oh, I didn't get any, I didn't manage to get any, you know, well, I woke up too late and there just wasn't enough time and now I'm starving. I mean, I've not eaten since this morning. Or they make it grandiose. Well, I had a fry up followed by course number 2, 3 and 4. It was superb. Nothing can ever just be honest and normal, right? They're amazing. They're amazing. Their need to lie is amazing. So for me, I'm going into this looking at Bryan Kohberger. If this is indeed him, I think the visual snow is a complete lie to ingratiate himself within this fold of these people suffering this, or what they believe to be suffering from this. I don't know if it would be a disease or a disorder, something neurological anyway, right? This visual snow. So I think he's lying. And narcissists work a lot on empathy. They work you hard on empathy, right? And if you read some of these posts that we're going to have a flick through, that's all they're doing. It's constant feel sorry for me. And at first you could be maybe mistaken that this is the intensity of the illness. I don't think it's about that. I think the illness is a lie, and I think it's all manipulation. And the guy here, Bryan, I think he was more right than he ever knew when he said a lot of us are vulnerable to snake oil salesmen, because a narcissist, that is exactly what a narcissist is, a snake oil salesman, right? I'm not saying this guy's narcissist, but I definitely believe he's narcissistic. So Bryan writes, that's the thing. A lot of us are vulnerable to snake oil salesmen because we still know next to nothing about VS. It would be pretty easy for someone to take advantage of vulnerable people on this forum. And what do I say about these personality types? Wherever there are vulnerable people, there will be a narcissist looking to exploit the situation, profit off it in some way, be that via empathy, monetarily, your time, your pity, your sympathy. You'll be being milked for something. There'll be a reason for it, a purpose for it. And here he writes, what's to believe to be Bryan. Well, if you were to actually spell my name right, I would take this post seriously. I mean, already the passive aggression, okay? It's a minor spelling mistake. And that's the grandiosity there, right? The delusions of grandeur. I mean, he's even had to mention, if you were to spell my name right, then I would take your post seriously, right? Okay, so the spelling of his name the misspelling of his name, has slighted him, all right? It has slighted him. I think him reading that comment that Bryan wrote obviously rang true, because that's exactly what he was trying to do, okay? He's a snake oil salesman trying to creep into this group under the disguise of being a victim with this cure, this diet cure that he claims to have, that strangely can never post. And then he goes on to say, look at my history. So here we go with the posturing in the grandstanding. You will see I posted here a while back with some similar questions that you guys came up with. I'm a VS vet, again with the grandiosity, right? He's trying to separate himself from this person. I'm an OG with this illness. I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so he's grandstanding. Don't even tell me I don't understand this. Right, that's not what the person's saying. For one, VS seems like a false disease, so no salesman would even take this seriously. Right? So that's quite a contradiction. VS seems like a false disease, so no salesman would even take this seriously. What the fuck? And then the person responds, incorrect spelling is not good enough. Okay, so these people are sharp in here, right? So this guy says incorrect spelling is not good enough. He brings up good points. So what he's saying is, just because he spelt your name wrong, that doesn't negate the whole message within his reply. He brings up good points. You avoiding everything he says simply because he missed one letter, check that, right? One letter of your internet forum alias raises more suspicion that he might be correct. And I think that's exactly what's going on. That is exactly what's going on. And he kind of retreats a little bit here, right? You've been caught out. And this I think approximately he would be about 15 or 16 here. He writes, I really believe in this diet, but I sparked the interest in many people. So much for Omega to even post a thread about the Candida diet. So I guess I am not failing my purpose. So there we go, he's got a grandstand. I am not failing. He's got to tell you, I am not failing. My friend's uncle is giving me the diet list soon. So it's my friend's uncle that has this diet list. I mean, how easy is it to send things over an email, through a text message, instant messaging, WhatsApp, Discord, Twitter, pick a platform, okay? And you're too busy. It's just been busy. So you've been busy every minute out of every day that you can't just screenshot the diet or take a photograph of it and upload it. Really? Busy. That's another lie. No one's that busy. Does it say the date on the other one? No, you can't scroll up to see it. Right, so this is all taking place on May the 5th. May the 6th. Right, so my friend's uncle is giving me the diet list soon. He's just been busy. I work too, you know. So there's the passive aggression. Covert narcissists in particular, and people with antisocial personality disorder, they are renowned for their passive aggression, cluster B personalities, especially covert narcissists, because everything's done covertly. So they're trying to do it without you recognizing they're doing it, or also doing it in a way that's deniable, so that they can then gaslight and say, no, that's not what I was doing. You've took it the wrong way. You always have to take everything the wrong way. You're too sensitive. No, you're being too sensitive. You read it wrong. It's you, it's not me. The diet is specific and you can eat certain foods only. So I will help you guys out. So here he is, the saviour. I will help you guys out. Well, if this is the cure, this diet, right? And if you read some of these posts, how much he goes on about this VS and how horrific it is. I mean, you really start feeling sorry for the person, whoever is behind these comments. That's how compelling they are to read. All right. So then he would know that other people are suffering the same way. And he's just been too busy with work when this diet is a cure. And then he reminds them, I will help you guys out. I am getting the information. Well, if he needs to get... So you can see the lies in this already. If he's being given the diet list soon, right, that would mean that he hasn't got it in his possession. Then he says the diet is specific and you can eat certain foods only, right? So if he doesn't know what the list is off the top of his head, as though he's following it to get rid of his VS, then he's obviously not got the diet, has he? He's not doing anything. Because he would know if he's had to stop eating carbs, say, or he's gone on a paleo diet or one of these, what are them other ones called? I can't think now. Even if it's a cabbage diet, right? If you're on the diet, you know what you're eating and what you're not. Do you need to wait for a list for someone else to give you the list so that you can send it into this forum that you have wound up on for hours, must be hours and hours, writing bullshit after bullshit, lies after lies, trying to make other people believe you have got the worst version, and everything's got to be grandiose with a narcissist. They can't just have a cut knee, they have to have a broken leg. And I suspect it's the same for this VS. Why his does sound so compelling, and why it did make me feel sorry for the person initially when you're reading it, because it's been exaggerated, and he makes it sound as though it's just this constant beyond a nuisance before his eyes, and it's just impossible. When you try to imagine what this kid's going through, no wonder I couldn't imagine it, because it's all bullshit. How was he driving and completing his schoolwork and looking at in the classroom if they still had a board or a projector or whatever it is? If he had all this so badly before his eyes, every time, within his vision. He didn't have it. If he had the diet as bad as some of these other comments refer to this illness as being, he'd have been on it. I mean, he'd have been taking the correct certain foods the day before, wouldn't he? If you heard somebody had a cure for something that's causing you so much trouble and so much just stress, and it must have been awful. For people that do have it, it must be awful to have that complete nuisance before your eyes all the time. I am getting the information. So there he is the one in control, right? He's the only one that has this diet, and I am getting the information. In the time it took him to write this post, he could have messaged the person who had the diet, got a link, got a screenshot, had it sent to him and uploaded it. But he's doing the withholding, right? He wants these people, and narcissists are prolific withholders, and that's what I believe he's doing. He wants them hanging on to this diet, right? And he's going to be the withholder of it. Whatever it is you need off the narcissistic personality, that's the thing they're going to withhold. If you need affection, reassurance, love, intimacy, honesty, whatever it is, that's what they withhold. And they do it purposely to psychologically wound you. And then this person writes back to him, because in this comment, on his first line, when he says, "But I sparked the interest in many people." All right, there's the posturing. I sparked the interest in many people. So he's clearly enjoying knowing that. He enjoys it. He repeats it. He tells those people that. Why would you be telling, if they were all there and present and they saw who posted this diet, they all know it was him anyway, but he has to remind people, I sparked the interest in many people. And when I've said before, narcissists use specific language and they tell on themselves. Unfortunately for us, they don't have the insight to be able to double back and hide the pattern within the words, like hide the posturing, hide the grandstanding, hide the gaslighting, hide the withholding, hide the milking of empathy. They can't do it. It just comes out. It leaks out of them. They can't help it, right? It leaks out in all their words. Even when they're talking, it leaks out. It leaks out. So the guy says to him back, "You sparked people's interest because you said you knew the cure." Okay? So he's saying, I sparked the interest in many people. So this person, where I said to you, like he's being grandiose, I sparked the interest. It was me. It was I, God over here. And this person is really sharp and reminds him, or corrects him rather, which will have slighted him, no doubt. You sparked people's interest because you said you knew the cure, not because you came up with something so brilliant. That will have been an amazing slide. That kind of shit is how you wound a narcissist, all right? That is how you piss one off, not by going at them aggressive, okay? If you had the title, say, a diet that might help, you would have got very little interest. The only reason you got this interest is because you lied. And what do we know? Narcissistic personalities are known to be doing constantly, pathologically lying about any and everything. So there we go. I mean, this person's just hitting them with slight after slight after slight to that ego. He'd have been fuming at the other side of these comments that somebody's been able to see through him so sharply. It's fantastic. The only reason you got this interest is because you lied. You lied that you knew the cause and the cure and have not delivered anything. I am being harsh, but this thread is absolutely ridiculous. No, pal, you are not being hard. You're being honest and critical. This is exactly what's going on here. This is going nowhere. Nothing positive is coming from this, only argument. Can moderators please close this? So we have right there narcissism, grandiosity, posturing, withholding, lying, grandstanding, passive aggression. There's the narcissistic side of him right there. Right there. Healthy people don't leak out all this repetitively. And here he comes back. Should we see what he has to say? I even said in my previous thread that this is possible. Something is inflaming them. I know what it is, but I'm not going to dare post it here. And he kind of like reverts, like some of his other comments, they do sound kind of mature, right? Or they seem like his age, but this one really sounds like a 13-year-old, like he's reverted back to that Arrested Development. I know what it is, but I'm not going to dare post it here, right? So again, with the posturing, he has to make people think he knows something they don't. They like to do that. Narcissistic personalities, cluster B, deceptive personality types are always about making you think they know something more than you, all right? They know better. They know everything, all right? They always know more than you. So get that in your head, people. I'm not going to dare post it here. I mean, that just sounds so childlike. I'm not going to dare post it here. But again, he's using the withholding, letting them think he knows something or has something. Unfortunately, I think these people are too emotionally intelligent to be able to be manipulated by him. And they've boxed him in his place. I don't think he's at any chance of manipulating these anymore. Because I'm not going to dare post it here. I know what it is, but I'm not going to dare post it. What do you mean you're not going to dare post it? He hasn't got it to post in the first place, but he wants them to think that it's them, right? They're the reason why he's not going to dare post it. So he's blame shifting. I have got all this honest information about how to cure VS, but thanks to you, because of you, I'm not going to dare post it here now, okay? It's all manipulation. All manipulation. So then we're going to look at this one. This was on May 12th. And these are interesting. We still have to. So if we're going with the theory that this personality is narcissistic, if we are, and if we are going with the theory that this Exar dude is Bryan, we have to be mindful of the lying, even though it might seem like this is being honest. Even if some parts of it are honest, which I think definitely some parts of this are honest, but I think they've been put in there for a reason, to manipulate. And because he's still so young at the time of writing this, some of those things he wrote were telling on himself, because they would not have been symptoms of what he's trying to portray. These are symptoms of, right? For instance, like narcissistic people will often fake illnesses, and I can have flu and they can have flu, right? But their flu, it'll be something else. It'll be something worse. It'll be some like super virus, and it's not the same as mine, it's worse. They've always got a symptom that you've not got, or there's always something extra to their illness that separates it, right? Because they are about separating themselves and raising themselves above you, okay? They're higher than you. So when he's given these symptoms here, I think he's added a lot of them on to exaggerate so that his version of visual snow is grander, it's more unique. There's definitely no cure for this. He's got like a strange variant, the only variant of it, the only other variant of it that there is, you know, there's a 1 in 8 billion chance he could get it, and he's got it, right? He's the one that's got it. They do some types of them, they meddle a lot with illness, and it's narcissism, I believe, that's behind the Munchausen's by proxy as well. I think there's narcissism deeply embedded within all of that, either when they're doing it to a child or a family member, making them sick and gaining the pity and the attention via the child for having such a sick child, and there's no cure for my child. My child's illness is unique. No other child has got an illness like my child. It's all about separating. And I do think if doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists studied the area of narcissism that we're getting to know more about now, victims have all started speaking out in the last 10 years, they could look for some of these signs and symptoms because they're specific to these behaviour types. So sometimes the illness will be directed toward a child and they'll gain attention from via the child, but at other times the illness will be about themselves, constantly faking symptoms, like doctors won't be able to find out what's wrong. They'll lie about symptoms, they'll do things to create symptoms. When you actually realise some of the depths of depravity these personality types go, narcissists, you would be amazed and you would genuinely think they are definitely mentally ill, and nobody should be anywhere near them. They are freaks, fucking weirdos, disturbing weirdos. It's not just about all this delusions of grandeur and lying and, you know, exaggerating things a bit and being histrionic. They are disturbed individuals, disturbed. So here, I think he's included lots of exaggerations, and I think he's picked up some of these symptoms from something else. And stupidly, I think he's made the mistake. I think personally, remember, this is only opinion. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a head doctor. I'm not anything. Okay, I'm just me, Sonia. I think where he's put delusions of grandeur, how would you know you had delusions of grandeur? Because they're a delusion, right? They're a delusion of grandeur. Where I showed you in the other messages, where he's making himself grander, right? And separating himself. Because he tried, right, some of these symptoms he's given here, they're not symptoms, they're traits of a personality disorder, okay? So I don't know what he's been reading or looking at. I think he's tried to make this sound as though nobody can figure out what this all these symptoms in their entirety would point to, okay? So, like depersonalization, I suffer with that. I can't say regular intervals, but say like a week ago, I was having a bad few days where I wasn't feeling like that feeling. It's hard to explain. The fog, he doesn't explain exactly what kind of fog, whether it would be like, I know he says mentally, but whether he means like a memory issue or like a more thinking issue. He says lack of comprehension at times. So maybe that is the fog, where it's more a mental, where it's more like not a memory issue, like memory fog. It's more mentally, like, I don't know, maybe thinking slowly, like can't pull up when you're struggling to I have a lot of short-term memory recall issues and long-term, but sometimes I just can't pull up. It's like that I do have brain fog, and I can't pull up words or names or words I just want to say. and I have to like have little what do you call them? See, I've doing it now. Oh, what do you call them? Like, I can do that, and sometimes I can pull it together, right? Little triggers, like where I can see it in my mind and I know what I want to say, or I can see the word, or I can see the name, but I just can't pull it up. It's bizarre. So yeah, I struggle with brain fog. So it is put lack of comprehension at some times. Feel like my life is a movie, depersonalization. Which, right, I don't know if he's accidentally. I don't know if this is like one of the honest ones that's true, because narcissistic personalities do feel like their life is a movie. I know that can be depersonalization, which someone with trauma could have, or somebody even with autism. But I think here, with the other symptoms that I believe we're seeing in how he's talking in that conversation just before this, I do think this feeling like life is a movie, because that is how narcissistic or psychopaths, antisocial personality disorder, that is how life, as we understand research and things we get told about studies and things like that, their life does feel like a movie. It is like a movie set, and we're just props that they use. And once they walk off the set and leave us at our house, it's out of mind, out of sight. All right, because they switch to different people that they're around. They're different people to who they're around. So with you, they could be against homophobia, stuff like that. This is just an example. But when they're with their other guy friends, when they're all together, right, they may be drinking, homophobic, share homophobic jokes, and dress a different way. When I say they are different with different people, it's bizarre how they do it. They are like two different identities. It's like, it's more like multiple. There's like multiple personalities within them. Then he goes on to no interest in activity, depression, constant thoughts of suicide. I don't believe that one. Crazy thoughts, I do believe that one. I don't know what led to him putting delusions of grandeur in there, but whatever it was, I believe he misunderstood it. Because if he knew what that meant and what that signaled to, or what that would cause people to think reading that, I don't think he'd have put it in there. Because it's like a tell on himself, that. But this is, again, a kid that's trying to be cleverer and smarter than who he is, as we see in those other comments in the forum earlier on. He's trying to portray he has something and trick these people, and he's getting called out and caught for it. So he mentions about anxiety. So it's believed that narcissistic personalities do have a level of anxiety. Poor self-image. See, that wouldn't go with the delusions of grandeur. This is what I mean, where his symptoms contradict each other. He couldn't have a poor self-image and at the same time be having delusions of grandeur. I don't know what caused him. I'd love to know what caused him to put delusions of grandeur in there, because I would be led to believe that he has got this somewhere to make this sound the way he thinks it sounds, that he is a sick kid with issues and struggles and everybody feels sorry for him. I think that's what the goal was with writing all this here. Okay, he says no image, poor social skills, again, empathy took, a poor self-image. I don't like myself, tell me how great I am, tell me how great I am, tell me how great I am. I feel like nothing has a point to it. Well, that would come with the depression. I just think he's added that possibly for, again, sympathy or an empathy tug. When I get home, I am mean to my family. This started when the visual snow did. I felt no emotion, and along with the depersonalization, I can say and do whatever I want with little remorse. Well, I don't know if you can understand what depersonalization feels like, but it's quite a hollow feeling when that feeling takes over you. You don't have violent thoughts, or you don't even feel angry. it's just like a hollow emptiness. You don't know, you can't, it's like you don't know who your personality is. There's no, I think he's lying. I just do not believe him. I'd love like a psychiatrist or somebody specialised in cluster B personalities to read some of this. So I felt no emotion, and along with the depersonalisation, I can say and do whatever I want with little remorse. So with little remorse. Constant thoughts of suicide. I'm just looking over some of the things he's wrote. Poor social skills. Right, so when he's saying this about when he gets home, I'm mean to my family. So there's an obvious anger issue there. And he says it's when he gets home. I'm mean to my family. This started when VS did. I felt. So he's talking in the present tense, and then he goes to past tense because he says, I am mean to my family when I get home. Then he said, this started when VS did, right? And then he goes to past tense. I felt in the past, no emotion, and along with the depersonalization, I can, back to present, say and do whatever I want with little remorse. Everyone hates me. Pretty much, I am an asshole. Now, I did a video a while ago, and I did a few posts on asshole versus narcissist. And because a lot of narcissists, they think they're so clever, to get away with being narcissistic or a blatant narcissist, they're like some overt narcissists, for instance, will say, I'm just an asshole, but I just fucking admit it. If I think you're a cunt, then you're just a cunt, right? I'm an asshole, but I admit it. And they're just overt narcissists, right? And they hide behind, I'm just a bit of an asshole, or I'm just raw, or I'm just too real for you, right? Well, since when has been being real got to do with being cruel, obnoxious, crass, crude and nasty? Okay? They try to gaslight you that they're being real, but look at the behaviour. Look at the behaviour when you've got somebody telling you that. If they're being crude, crass, blatantly nasty, cruel, over the top, cutting somebody down at the knees for nothing, they're not being real, they're being narcissistic. So people like to use the asshole banner to hide behind. Well, if you explore asshole behaviour and consider when you're thinking of yourself, like, I know we can all be a bit shitty at times, okay? So I'm not saying I am without ever being an asshole or moody. I just don't have anyone to there's no one here for me to do it around anyway. So if I'm in a mood, it doesn't matter. But say if I was being an asshole, what is asshole behaviour? Well, I would consider it ignoring somebody, possibly being rude when they ask you for something. What do you want? Not cleaning up after yourself, having the TV on too loud, interrupting somebody, over talking. Think about what are you being, or what are you specifically doing when you refer to yourself as an asshole? What are you doing, right? And most of the time, those behaviours, they're narcissistic behaviours. That's exactly what they are. It's okay to say, all right, odd times I am an asshole. But if someone's saying to you, oh, I'm just an asshole, me personally, I would avoid them, because why are you telling me that you're always an asshole? Because what is an asshole? It's somebody being rude and obnoxious and likely nasty and cruel. So I don't want to be around that. But anyway, so when he's saying here, I'm pretty much an asshole, a lot of narcissistic personalities think that being an asshole is acceptable, because mostly by society, nobody really looks deeper than surface level and considers what we're saying, right? But what are we saying when we're calling ourselves an asshole, or when we're doing asshole things? We're being a bit of a prick, right? We're being narcissistic. We're thinking about ourselves and we don't give a shit whether you like it or you don't. That's kind of narcissistic. So he admits here, I am mean to my family, which would be abusive. All right, and he's aware of it, because I do believe this. I do believe this. But I think he's tried to spin this as a pity party, and I'm just so mean and I just can't stop and I've got all these things wrong with me. It's like a confession within an excuse and a justification, all of it. All the symptoms he lists off, right? And I'm mean to my family, and it started when the VS did. So there's the blame shifting, all right? I am mean to my family, and this started when the VS did. Really? Okay. I don't believe you, pal. Everyone hates me pretty much. I am an asshole. Well, again, then you're being a tosser, aren't you? And that you know that you're doing it. You're aware that you're doing it. And when you were aware that you were doing it yesterday, you still came home today and did it. So now what you're being, because you know it's wrong, but you're still continuing to do it. So it becomes a choice. Everyone hates me. Pretty much I'm an asshole. What else is there to say? He tells on himself. But I think he thinks that sharing that is just one giant empathy tug. He's just going to get a whole load of empathy and sympathy back for this kind of a comment. You know, it's going to make everybody feel sorry for him. Someone gives him what he wants. Empathy. You most definitely not the only one. I used to feel like this to the point of nearly taking drastic measures, which I'm so happy I didn't. In life, there are ups and downs, not just with this condition. With having this condition, you have more downs than normal, and it's harder to cope with these symptoms. But in my experience, and a lot of others, after a while, you find coping mechanisms. It isn't something that happens, overnight. And he goes on to say, Palianopsia, which I do not know what that is the least of my worries. I took Topamax before, and it just made me insane. I broke my table for no reason, seriously. Laugh out loud. I never really cared about after images since I had developed them at age 9, and they got intense. I broke my table for no reason. I mean, does that even make sense? For no reason. Just made me insane. I have no idea what he's talking about, but I don't believe him. I think the broke the table is for shock value. It's an exaggeration. That don't tell me to try that, because they don't, like narcissists, they don't really ask for advice. If you, I could say, who can I use an example of? In fact, I won't use anybody, but if you can see that they need advice, they're struggling with someone, and you go to them and say, oh, if you did this, it would be better, you will more than likely be sent away with a flea in your ear. Don't want you telling them how to do it, or there's a better way to do it, because if you're telling them there's a better way to do it, then that means their way isn't the better way to do it. And it slights their ego. It's incredible how tender and sensitive their egos are. They can put on a front and brush it off. You don't need to tell me. Well, they already know. I already know. Or they can be like, well, thank you. But they're seething. They don't like... and they tend to attract as well, which is the irony. Narcissistic people, they do tend to attract do-gooders, fixers, right? And at the same time, while the narcissist wants all the empathy, they don't want your advice, all right? So if you're saying to them, if you did this, your channel will be better, or if you did that, this would be better, or you'd earn more money, they take it as an insult. They're unbelievable. They drive you up the wall. So anyway, that's about as much as I wanted to share these brief bits, all right? But these are bits that I haven't heard mentioned, so I thought it was worth a mention. I do think, just with the admissions of the abusive behaviour, that then clearly, even though as teenagers we all have these narcissistic traits going into our early 20s, and, you know, at some point we finally get a balance, and we can be moody and self-absorbed and selfish and only think the world revolves around us. You know, becoming a functioning part of society between 16 and 25. It's a crucial part of adulthood, and you do learn a lot, all right? So I'm not being harsh on this kid here, suggesting that, or being ignorant of the fact that kids are narcissistic. Yes, kids have moods. Yes, kids are emotional. They're going through puberty. Boys can be aggressive. Girls can be aggressive, argumentative, abusive verbally. I'm not just... For this kind of conversation that is very manipulative, the conversation, the manipulations there, the pathology of the manipulation He's gone in there, I think, to attempt to empathy tug, which would make me think that he's more on the narcissistic side than the sociopath side, all right? Because the sociopath doesn't need, or the antisocial personality disorder doesn't need validation from outside sources. They can remain in solitary. The narcissist can't, all right? So that's why, so far, I have seen traits that lean towards narcissism. I haven't, if this is indeed him, because there's always a 50-50 chance this isn't him. I know it's linked to the email, but stranger things have happened, and there's always quirky coincidences in every case where you swear this could be the thing, and it's simply just a coincidence. It's nothing more. But whoever did write this, I'm not leaning to these thoughts because I think it's him. I'm leaning to these thoughts because of the words, the sentences, how it's worded. There is manipulation there. There is narcissism there. And for me, if you know that's there, then it would make sense that the pathology of lying is there, because it goes together. All right. There's no such thing as an honest narcissist, antisocial personality disorder, histrionic, etc., etc. All right. So thanks for listening. Share your thoughts. What do you think? Let me know below. You can disagree, debate, discuss, whichever. I appreciate you listening. Please leave a like, share your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one. Love lots and bye for now.